Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another Community Connections with Ryan Sauers. Super excited to have the amazing Equalman, Erik Qualman, owner of Equalman Studios, with me today. Erik, Equalman, how are you, sir?
Awesome. Great to be here. Great to be with your listeners.
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, you and I, first of all, I was tell my audience, I have been a fan of Equalman, Erik, for years. I was, before we even knew each other, I was playing his videos and speeches, and I would like tweet at him and say, hey, man, I just showed a whole classroom this video. And he's like, awesome. And he's got a video series. It's been, what's it, Socialnomics? Is it still called Socialnomics?
Yeah, it started off social media revolution, and now we're approaching, it'll be a decade anniversary. And so we call them digital transformation now,
Digital.
just to
Okay.
be more encompassing. But thanks for all the love you've given the videos. It's crazy how
Yeah.
viral that thing is.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. If you don't know, you can look up, Equalman, and he's all over social media, whatever. But the video series they've been doing for like a decade, it's. I've never seen an audience. I've been in front of it, hadn't loved it. So, anyway, so glad you're here. But tell us, man. I know you got a new book out. You've had many books out. You're a global entertainer and speaker. Great family man. I think you're a basketball player back in the day. I don't know if you still got the vertical. I don't know about that. But just tell us a little bit about yourself for those people who don't know you, kind of what makes you tick, and we'll just get into some other stuff.
Yeah, no, it's my name's Erik Qualman. First initial, last name's Equalman, and so I'm happy to get in the whole story about why I wear these crazy green glasses and why it's called Equalman, because we finally stepped into our story. But for the last 11 years, I've been writing books to empower people. So I always like to entertain, educate, and empower people. Our goal is to reach 7 billion people, to empower 7 billion people by 2030. So thanks for having me on the show, because I can't do it alone. It's all your listeners that take the message, and then basically they're a light that helps others shine. And we've been able to reach over 50 million people in 55 countries. So a long way to go. So we've made a big chunk, but a long way to go still. So it's been a fun journey.
Yeah, and Erik, I love that part about everything. I tell everybody when I name this particular show, I do community connections. It's like that. I'm in Atlanta. Well, that doesn't just mean Atlanta. Everybody has a community or communities that you reach, and communities make up states and countries, and all over the world that you're talking about. So, we reach people one person, and through the internet age, hundreds of thousands of people at a time. So yeah, any little bit helps, and you're doing great stuff. Now, I know you've written multiple books, because I have read through your book and gave you a great review. Tell us about your newest book, because I know you're crushing it.
Yeah, I know the latest book's called The Focus Project. And obviously, we didn't know a pandemic was coming, but it launched at almost the perfect time to help people out. How do you focus when the world's completely unfocused? And so it's the not so simple art of doing less better. And so the beautiful thing is just been getting all the notes, some that make me cry. I mean, I'm kind of a softie as it is. I'm a father of two young daughters, but just to hear these notes on how much the book is helping someone during these difficult times. And one of the notes was this: they just sat down and read the book in a day with their 15-year-old daughter, that the daughter was just kind of wrestling with a fully virtual world, a pandemic. And so how to focus on what you can control. So the not so simple art of doing less better. And so just getting those notes, and thanks for your review. Obviously those help people discover the book that aren't aware of it. So it's been a wild ride for sure. But the best thing is just so gratifying to hear just how much it's helping people.
Remind me the name. I mean, my brain these days, every year goes by, I can't remember more than about 5 seconds. But tell everybody, I know it's all over Amazon. What's the name of the newest book? I just don't have it in front of me.
Yeah, it's called The Focus Project. The
Okay.
not so simple art of doing less better, but it's just called The Focus Project. The reason it's a project is because I struggle with focus. So I basically wanted to take the industrial science, like the science that's out there, third-party research, test it out with the street science. That was me. And so I was going to go out there and go, what works, what doesn't work. And it's the first book where I really tell my story. And it was really a challenge for me to do that, because being from the Midwest, I'm always like, who cares about my story? But then I realized that everyone's basically living the same movie. We're just different actors and actresses. And so I've got a lot of feedback that's like, that's the most powerful part, because I can really relate to this month, because each month I took on one thing to focus on. And so for your listeners, how exciting is that? Like, that's what got me excited. Was before I started the project, it took me about 2 years to start it, because there's all these false starts, because focus is hard.
Yes.
And so I was just laying awake. I go, man, how great would it be if I just focused on organizing the house this month? Or how great would it be if this month at work, I just focused on sales? Like not all this other stuff that I have to do, just sales, just for a couple hours a day. What would that look like? And what would the result be? And it turns out, spoiler alert, it's very powerful
Yeah.
when you focus, whether it's business related or whether it's family related.
Well, so you just saying all that, so knowing you and stuff we've done in the past, I have not had a chance to read in depth because I wanted to go back and read because I'm a quick reader, but I talk about focus. I'm reading like 5 books at a time. But here's something interesting. So I'm now down to my last 4 or 5 weeks of all but my dissertation in leadership studies, right? So I'm very interested in this because I struggle with focus. I got like 25 things I'm always trying to do at the same time. And not really that effective. I'm gonna probably be guessing, and the thing is, when you do that, I don't know what your findings are. I won't say it yet because I want to read all parts of it, but I find my brain is revving, right? It's revving
Yeah.
like a computer, and it's got, my wife told me my computer looks like my brain. It's got all these things popping up, to-do list of another to-do list. So I think that book is really timely, and it's interesting. It's a blessing that you got that out right. I guess it came out right during or before the pandemic. Is that right?
Yeah, it came out in August. So it's during the middle of the pandemic. So sometimes things happen for you, not to you. So at first you're like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? Launch? Because look at Despicable Me 4. They just pushed it a whole year to the next year. And we are like going, oh, do we launch the book in October? And the inverse happened. People had heard about the book and they started to ping me and saying, we need this now. My daughter needs it. I need it. My grandmother needs it. Whoever it was. And so it's unheard of, but we moved the launch of the book a couple of months forward. The reason it's unheard of is because that's normally not good business to do that in the publishing world. You want to launch in October and you don't want to change launch dates, but we're like, who cares? If people need it, let's get it out there. And so that's why we pulled the book forward. So it's interesting. You mentioned that you try to parallel process a lot of things at a time. So what we discovered, or I discovered in my journey, all of us are really one of 4 different spirit animals when it comes to focus. So this will be fun. So we're going to do this with you, Ryan,
All
and
right.
listeners chime in because I want you to self-identify as well, or feel free to tag your husband or your wife or your friend on what they are.
All
but
right.
really there's 4 animals. And so there's the hedgehog. The hedgehog is someone that a lot of us, so let's say that you want to write a book. That you'll write a book as soon as you have a PhD in English. So essentially you want to have all the armor before you get into the arena. Even though that armor could be a deficit to you, it might weigh you down. Think about David and Goliath.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what a hedgehog looks like, is that you are basically sometimes don't have the confidence to kind of make that step per se.
Okay.
And so that's why your focus is, let me build this up before I actually take that step. So some of our hedgehogs, others are chameleons. So chameleons, and normally this is good, right? You're a good person. You have a high emotional intelligence. You're worried about what other people think. And so it might be you're doing a job right now because you think that that makes your mom or dad proud. Or you're doing something that, hey, this is good for my family. And so in essence, it's good at its core, the thought you're putting others before you. But just like on the airplane, you've got to put that oxygen mask on yourself first before you help the kids. Is that when it comes to focus, sometimes chameleons, you're not focused enough on what you should be focused on. You're worried about what you think others think you should be doing. And I'm kind of giving you like the Reader's Digest version of these things.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Super fast. But the army ant is someone that parallel processes things because they can. An army ant can carry 5,000 times their weight, but that doesn't mean they should. Because they're carrying this stuff, they get back to the anthill, they might not be able to cram it down there. And so you'd be actually a lot better off just focusing on one thing at a time rather than parallel processing, because you'll get them done quicker, better, and also you'll be healthier and happier by focusing on one thing at a time rather than parallel processing things across the board. And so it's really, then the last but not least is a squirrel. Squirrels, again, all these have positive attributes. Squirrels are really good at knowing what's the latest and greatest restaurant. They know what the trends are. They're really good at sales. They kind of always are looking at what's the next shiny thing. But that's also the inverse, is their weakness, is that they never complete that project because they want to move on to the next thing. And so it's really identifying which spirit animal you are to make sure that you know where your strengths and weaknesses lie. It's not about changing them. It's just being able to know that self-awareness and taking advantage of it and watching out for those pitfalls as much as possible. So again, in summary, for your audience and for yourself, because I'm going to ask you which one you are.
Right.
You've got the army ant. That's basically your parallel processing things instead of attacking them one thing at a time. You've got the squirrel. That's you're looking at the next shiny object. You've also got the hedgehog. That means you want to be fully armored up. You want to make sure you've got all the boxes checked. Like if you want to become a CEO, you think you have to take every entrepreneurship class on the planet. And then it's really, and the chameleon, someone that's looking out for others. Your focus is on other people's needs rather than yourself. And again, you've got to think of the analogy of the airplane. You got to put your oxygen mask on first when it comes to focus before you put on the kids' masks. Which one are you, my friend?
Right,
and a lot of it, sorry, you kind of major in one and minor in the other. So that's usually a little easier to answer. So you're going to have a major in one and a minor in another.
Major one. All right. So, I've spent a lot of my career, I think, certified Myers-Briggs, DISC, and emotional intelligence. So, and taking all that stuff in my head, I'm going to have to say my major is squirrel. All right. Because, whatever it is, if it's the, streaming live or the podcast or blogging or social media, whatever, so my weakness there obviously is going, don't forget, that's great. That's good to be ahead of that, but you can't lose sight of, and you got to finish what you're doing. I mean, I've learned to strengthen that left hand, although the right hand is naturally probably, what's next, but also relate in the minor to the ant a little bit because, I got all this stuff I'm carrying around, but maybe not all of equal effectiveness or importance, right? Of going, hey, this is good. This is a great thing, Erik, that I'm doing. But you may say, but what's your return on that? And what's your love of doing that? And I'm like, I'm not 100% sure. So I really love that question for our audience but I will tell you in the hedgehog, there are people like I'm getting my doctorate years later. And if I didn't have 25 plus years experience, it wouldn't mean anything to me. And I have a reason for it. But there's people I know in the same cohort or friends that say, once I have this, I'll be able to get a management job. And I'm like, no. To me, if I didn't have a real life experience and couldn't connect the dots, it wouldn't make any sense for me. And so the hedgehog thing there, that wouldn't be that. But you got me thinking. And I think you've really analyzed and the oxygen mask. Which one was that animal? When you
That's
said
the chameleon. So the chameleon is you're kind of basically doing stuff because you think it's what other people want you to do, whether that's society, whether that's an individual. And again, that can be, all these things are positive aspects. Like you're worried about other people. You have a high emotional intelligence, but it's really, you got to put that oxygen mask on yourself first before the kids. Yeah.
when I was younger, I would say, my 30s, I tended to maybe my early to mid 30s, that might've been me more, but as I got older, I was like, I care about my wife, my kids and close friends, but you're not going to please everybody. You and I know that, you got a million people out there that love you, a million people out there going, dude, you need to get rid of your headset, Ryan, and what's up with his green glasses? We don't like either of you. And then half the people are too busy to even pay attention. So, you get more comfortable in your own skin, I think, if you develop. But you know what? That's awesome. So tell me about the story of being Equalman in the green glasses. I got to know that. I don't know the answer. I don't know that story.
So the story relates to focus as well. So I hope everyone, after you hear this story, you don't do what I did, which was I didn't focus on stepping into my story. And so my hope is that either you already stepped in your story, I want you to step further into it, or today you're gonna go, whoa, I don't want that to happen to me for 15 years. I want to step directly into my story. So with a name like Erik Qualman, you're always handed an email address. I've been in the digital space for 26 years. So before I started writing books and doing all this fun stuff like speaking around the world, is that I worked at a company called Yahoo, which was the Facebook of the day back in the late 90s. And then also as the head of marketing at Travelzoo, when we took that company from private to public as the top performing stock on the NASDAQ. Long way to say that I was always an equal man. And I didn't like it because for 15 years, you come in good-natured way, somewhat maybe bullying a little bit, but it's like, equal man's here. He can get the coffee. He's super fast. Oh, wait. We got extra work for the weekend? Well, who's super powerful? Equal man can do it. And so I kind of hated the name a little bit. And then I wrote a book. My second book's called Digital Leader. It was doing well. So they did a magazine interview. They wanted to take a photo shoot for the cover. And they came in and said, hey, we want to have some fun with this cover. Do you mind with your website address? It's equalman.com. Do you mind wearing some Clark Kent-like glasses? And I go, yeah, we can do that. Superman glasses. And then they go, well, it's our St. Patrick's Day issue. Do you mind if they're green? I go, yeah, we can have some fun. They bring them out. I'm like, whoa, those things are really bright. Now, we take the cover of the magazine shoot. I don't think much of it. And then I fly a couple of weeks later to Kenya. And the night before I'm going to speak on stage, I went to a rescue shelter to adopt a baby cheetah. On the way over, the woman that I'm with says, you know, like the media, the handler, she says, hey, we had Usain Bolt, the Olympic sprinter, here this week, and he adopted from the same litter that you're going to adopt from. And we took video. Do you mind if we film you? And I go, no, that's great. You can marry. She goes, we can marry him together, and then we can raise more money for the rescue shelter. I go, yeah, whatever it takes. Let's make it happen. And then she looks at me and goes, but obviously when we're filming, I want to make sure you have your green glasses on. And I kind of look at her. I go, oh, I was just for that magazine shoot. I don't wear green glasses like that all the time. I look like an idiot walking around with bright green glasses on all the time. And then she pauses and goes, no, I mean, no, you have to have them on. That's what everyone thinks you look like in Kenya. I mean, and then so just the look on her face, I never wanted to see that again. And I realized that in life, things happen for you, not to you. So hopefully I tell that story because, again, it's my movie, but it's my story, but all of us are in the same movie, just different actors and actresses. So the takeaway is definitely step into your story. So I stepped into my story, started wearing the green glasses. And it's uncomfortable. Like, you're wearing bright green glasses. It's walking in discomfort. And stepping into your story, ironically enough, is uncomfortable at first, but long-term, it's the most comfortable place that you can live. And it's not easy. So we lost some business when I started wearing green glasses because people were like, whoa, we need someone serious. We can't have this guy with green glasses on in front of our 1,000 executives. But then we got a lot more business because we weren't in the middle. You know, it's like, we want that guy that's entertaining, educating, empowering. Let's get that guy. And then now, crazy enough, we actually are in the business of selling green glasses. Like, conferences will get 1,000 glasses for their attendees. And now more so that it's virtual, they want to have fun. And so they'll take what we call screenings. Everyone will have green, like we're just with Disney and Intuit, and they have their green glasses on. We take the picture. But the reason I tell you that story is just step into your story, no matter how uncomfortable it might be. And the green glasses, even to this day, it's somewhat uncomfortable wearing these bright green glasses, but it always reminds me just to walk in discomfort. You know, you don't grow, when you go to the gym and you work out, you only strengthen and grow your muscles if you actually push yourself to that discomfort. If you run a marathon, you got to push yourself, not to that pain level, you don't want to injure yourself, but just you've got to push yourself to that discomfort. And the same holds true in business and in life. And so it's just been a great reminder for me. And it's a super, super long story to say that my cheetah, she is much faster than Usain Bolt's cheetah. That's really what I wanted to get to.
Hey, man. Well, I love hearing the story. And, you know, on a personal level, you know, it's funny. Early in my life, I had just somehow started signing my name and said Ryan Sauers, Ryan T. Sauers, right? And so then that became my signature. I mean, this is going back to like early 20s. And then over time that, you know, that'd go in a book or that'd go in a Instagram handle, and so then my kids to this day, they, you know, have 3 daughters, and they're like, they saw Ryan T. Sauers out in public, you know, and I'm like, that's what they that's their affection. And it was like, I kind of started with this, then it was like, one of our, I want to name, but close marketing buddies, he called me right at the beginning of the pandemic, and he's like, well, Ryan T. Sauers. And I'm like, all right. But it's kind of like that, you know, I created something, and I ultimately stepped into that because then everything needed to be branded consistently. And, you know, you don't want like, well, which one are you? And so I'm with you. I get my share of jokes, but I think along with the jokes come, you know, you know, to be comfortable in your own skin. And I think, you know, Erik, I think, you know, we'll be sensitive to everybody's time here, but right now there's a lot of people, you know, as we're taping this, we'll be getting it out real soon. You know, we're still counting election votes, and we got this, but you and I are big into leadership and inspiring people, very much family guys. What do you say to those people right now, not with politics, just in general, that are struggling during this pandemic? We all feel different emotions. What would you give them just to, hey, guy, lady, you know, it's all gonna be okay. Focus on this, and you know, you get your book, and we'll give them your contact information. But anything you would just say to them if they're having a tough time right now?
Yeah, I mean, I just put it down to a word. So just give. Like, think about wearing a t-shirt, give. And that starts with give yourself a break.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not alone. A lot of us get isolated and say, oh my gosh, this is happening to me. I'm the only one. And you realize that you're not alone. So try to reach out to other folks. Don't isolate yourself. It's easy to do, especially now that the world's gone virtual, to get behind in your house, close the doors, and then kind of you're in that dark place. And so give, meaning give yourself a break. 2, give of your time. So whenever you're stuck, volunteer. Because at a minimum, you're going to help someone else out. And guess what? More times than not, you're helping two people out. You're helping
Yeah.
yourself out too. Because it'll help put you on the path to somewhere else. And then give financially if you can. So it's just really just about give. Just think about that word give. Whenever you're in a rut, stuck, that's always been helpful. That's what the research shows. I've seen it myself personally. And so it's just always getting back to that as much as possible.
Well, I think with the research you've been doing, I'm gonna dial into you for my dissertation and let you jump into this. I'm playing. That's not a gift that I want to give anybody. It's a never ending. But no, man, it's really awesome. And I know we don't have time for it today, but I know you guys do stuff with Disney, and we have one of those vacation clubs down there. So my kids have grown up going to Disney every year, and then we're supposed to be going down with masks, et cetera, towards the end of the year. And you know what? I'm looking forward to. I think they're doing it the right way down there, keeping people safe.
Yeah.
I mean, I know your team does a lot of stuff with them, right?
Yeah, we do. And it's just always a reminder that if you can dream it, you can do it. I mean, it sounds like that sounds wonderful, especially in these challenging times. But the other thing you just need to do is ask yourself, what's the one thing I need to do today that makes everything else either easier or unnecessary? That's the other thing too, is just attack that before the day attacks you. And so write that down the night before and then attack that before the day attacks you. Most of the time, that one thing is going to take 30 minutes to 60 minutes. And by attacking that first thing before the day attacks you, you're kind of playing with house money, quote unquote, the rest of the day. And so that's what really focus is all about, is making sure that you hammer that thing out. And the top 3 learnings that I got from the book, which are helpful for people, is number 1, focus can be learned. It can become a habit, but it's very, very hard. And so it's continual, and it's not about perfection, it's about progress. I slip every day. So let's make sure I don't slip 2, 3 days, weeks, months. So that's the key. The second thing is that people that are very successful are better at focusing than most of us. And that doesn't mean that they're born with it innately. They don't have a higher IQ. What they have is they have better systems. Specifically, they have better systems at saying no to almost everything, because that allows you to say yes in the future. And then last but not least, it's really about understanding that what I just talked about, it's not about perfection, it's progress. So patience in the short term, and then persistence in the short term, persistence day to day, and then patience in the long term.
Well, man, you know what? I think I'm gonna once this comes on a podcast, I'm gonna put this in my own ear and remind myself. But I agree with you 100%, Erik. The bottom line is, I own a couple of magazines in Atlanta, and when I have to sit down and be the final set of eyes after everybody's looked at it, it requires every bit of focus I have. But you know what? I've taught myself to be able to do it. Now, when I'm done after 10 hours, where I'm drained, but I can do it. Or same thing with writing an academic paper that's boring. I mean, I can do it. It's still not some great strength, but it is teachable. It is learnable, and I think your book will be very helpful to a lot of people. So, real quick as we wrap up, I know I got all the stuff. You've got you're everywhere on the internet, but what's the easiest way for people to connect with you and if we want to talk to you more about things they do, conferences or coaching or speaking or whatever they want to connect with you online with?
Yeah, anything we do to help, it's just Equalman. So it's equalman.com, and it's spelled exactly how it sounds, like Equalman. And so it's equalman.com, and all things socials, Equalman. So just if you type that in, we've got a ton of free stuff out there to help students, to help adults. And so take advantage of that free content. Hopefully it helps you.
Absolutely. Well, like I said, you did great, and us finding a time to get together. We had to book it way out, but both of us stay busy, and I really appreciate Erik, your time, your expertise, your books you're putting out there, all that you're giving, paying forward, and being a great friend and colleague. So I'll be getting this out. I'll get link out through all our channels, get a link to you with the video show, and then about a week we should have the podcast available as well.
Yeah, no, it's great to see you next time. Hopefully we're in person, maybe
Absolutely.
at a UGA game. I don't know.
There you go.
There you go. Go Dogs.
Yeah, we may still be voting then. I mean, we may still be counting votes, but hopefully that's done. And yeah, absolutely, we definitely can't wait to see you in person. And something you realize you really miss so much during this time. But
it's crazy. The book Socialnomics, we had it. So that was in 2008. I wrote it originally. We talked about online voting. And so now you can see that'll become a reality sooner than you think.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're great. And again, that's why I want you guys out there to connect with Erik and on what he does online, et cetera. Just watch it, watch the videos, watch what he tweets, writes, Instagram. You've always been a step ahead, and you're like that squirrel that's well rounded now.
They just call me a chubby squirrel. I like it. It's like
That's
the
right. Yep.
squirrels at Michigan State University. The students feed them, and they just look like the size of a small grizzly bear.
Right. That's right. Well, I meant the squirrel in the lovingest way possible. Lovingest way possible. All right, my friend. Well, Erik Qualman, Equalman, thank you so much for being a guest on the show. I sure appreciate it.
Thanks to you and your listeners.
Yes, sir. Folks, you've been listening to another Community Connection with the Ryan Sauers, special guest, Erik Qualman. Erik goes by Equalman. Find him all over the internet, and we'll see you again next time